so much for joining me on Being Indispensable. My name's Liz Van Vliet. We're all dispensable. I know that better than anyone. I'm a breast cancer survivor. But that doesn't mean that we can't invest in ourselves to improve the skills and capabilities that are going to help us stand out and be perceived as indispensable. Being indispensable is also about the being side of the equation. Because if we're not looking after ourselves and our own well-being, then we have no hope of showing up as indispensable in the workplace. Hello, lovely listeners. Welcome to episode 103 of Being Indispensable. I'm Liz, and I am bringing you this episode on June the 1st in Sydney, where it is the first day of winter and yet it is gloriously sunny and gorgeous outside, and I've just gotten home from a walk down at Manly Beach. So not to make you jealous or anything, wherever you might be, but it was spectacular. So if I sound a little bit super pumped, that's because I've exercised and have been out in the beautiful fresh air looking at the ocean, and it's very good for the soul. So today's episode is a very quick one to let you know about a little project that I have been working on. So one of the things that I have found from the coaching that I've done with executive assistants is that there is a very strong theme that comes through of feeling like you seem to go from being what I describe as from frazzled to flow. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that the executive assistants that I work with often talk about how they seem to bounce between feeling like they're in control and on top of things, and then feeling like they're just, feeling overwhelmed and out of control. And one of the techniques that I use and that I have learned in terms of being a qualified coach is to help people actually get in touch with what things look like when you're in either of those extreme states, where you're feeling that you're absolutely nailing it and that everything is really flowing, versus feeling overwhelmed and out of control. Because if we can have a level of mindfulness around what those factors are, the various factors that are at play in those extremes, then we've got a better chance of trying to stay somewhere in the middle, somewhere between those states. We're not always going to be absolutely in flow. That's just not realistic because of, there's a whole bunch of reasons why that's the case. But if we can actually have a level of awareness of what's going on internally inside ourselves and externally in terms of the things that support us externally, whether it's people, whether it's systems and processes, then we can be more mindful of that in the times where we're feeling out of control and we're feeling frazzled, to try to bring ourselves back to a state of being back in flow. So in order to help you do that, I've actually created a workbook, and you can download it at this link, which I will put in the show notes. It's bit.ly, it's a bit.ly link, so bit.ly/from frazzled to flow. From frazzled to flow. Now, what I've actually done is I've had this download available for a couple of weeks now, and tomorrow I'm actually running a webinar where I'm going to actually step people through completing their own From Frazzled to Flow worksheet. Now, I don't expect that you may be listening to this and it may not suit your time zone to dial in at midday Australian Eastern Standard Time on the 2nd of June. And I can tell you that I do plan on running this webinar again. But if you download the workbook at bit.ly, the bit.ly link, bit.ly/from frazzled to flow, you will go on to this particular list where I will be emailing you further details of when I'm going to be running this webinar again or where you can go to watch it. So I would encourage you to have a think about, in your own experience, do you have a good understanding of the internal and the external factors that help you remain or spend more time in that state where you feel that you are in flow, that you feel like you are on top of things? And I would encourage you to have a look at this workbook just to prompt you, to help you really make sure that you are mindful of those factors. So that's it for this week's episode. I, again, hope that wherever you are, if you're somewhere in the world and June 1st is is marking the first day of summer, then, I wish you all the best at this point in 2020 when we're emerging from COVID-19. I want to send a particular shout out to people living in the US at the moment and dealing with the really, really sad result of the fact that race and the realities that exist for people of colour that are manifesting themselves in the demonstrations and peaceful and not so peaceful violence that is unfortunately going on. I'm sending you my thoughts, and we're watching on from this side of the world and hoping that as a country, America can return to being the best version of itself. So, thanks for listening, and I look forward to bringing you another episode next week. Thanks for listening to today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see the show notes, head over to my website. It would be great if you haven't already done so. If you enjoyed the show, if you could kindly go to iTunes and leave a review. It helps other people find the show. Thanks for listening and have a great week.